You are escorted into the prince's office. What time would you say you get there? Early, on time, a little bit late?
Definitely fashionably late.
I love that for him. You're escorted in, and you see Prince Tabitha writing in a file a little bit that is almost certainly yours. Like that's
Mm.
context clues. She looks up at you and gives you a smile. Oh, hello, Mr. Daniel. Lovely to meet you. Please have a seat.
Yeah, he nods. Why, of course, Miss Prince.
She looks at you. I hope you didn't have any trouble finding my office or anything, or run into any traffic.
You kidding me? Nah, it was just easy to find. You gave good instructions. Besides, what you guys call traffic down here ain't nothing compared to where I'm from.
Oh yes, New York. My apologies. She pauses for a moment, flipping through some pages in her file, and uh, clears her throat a little bit. So, Mr. Daniel, is that all right? Do you have any other name that you prefer?
Ah, you can call me Danny. No need to be so formal.
Okay. Well, Danny, lovely to meet you. Your first question for this interview. Please tell me about your embrace and how it shaped you as a kindred.
Whew. Well, that's a weird one. Well, you see, you look at me and I look pretty fine. But the thing about it is that I was embraced not by any of the pretty boy clans, but by a Nosferatu. The New York sewer rats up there, they mean business. And, well, through some connections to the mob, I happened to get myself bit. The strange thing is, though, it didn't quite take. I mean, as you can see from the way I look. Instead of becoming all twisted and freakish, I just kind of stayed like I was. Still a vampire, but not a Nosferatu. Makes me a caitiff.
She nods at that. Yes, I'm familiar with it. But as a caitiff, how do you feel like that will impact your relationship with your teammates, if at all?
Well, I mean, I can't say too much. I don't know them very well. Over in New York, we're all very metropolitan, you understand. People intermixing all the time, but well, from what I understand, vampires, especially older ones, don't like Kaitiff. Think we're harbingers of Gehenna and all that jazz. I don't buy it, but that doesn't mean they won't.
She nods. I find it unfortunate to say, but I have gotten a few uh warnings against hiring you. I don't believe any of that for a moment. I think that you should speak for yourself first, and that will determine if you get the job or not. Not any of this Kaitif Gehenna apocalyptic nonsense. And she gives you a slight smile.
Glad to see you're a reasonable one, Prince. Hope we can get along.
Oh, I hope so too. Next off, what did you do before your embrace, and has that changed at all since?
Oh, man. Where I'm from, I'm not supposed to tell anybody who I work for, let alone someone in authority. But then again, this is vampire authority, so I suppose you don't really care. Well, tell you the truth, I was down with the New York mob, the Italian types. You couldn't tell from the accent. I worked a stint, started with them when I was young, 20s, back in the early 70s. Got shit done, you know. I didn't really do drugs, that wasn't my thing. I was more on the protection rackets, and, well, really, my main thing was going and whacking dudes. You know, real scumbags and the like. People who give a bag of crack to a 5-year-old. I don't regret it, and I won't say I will. But, well, that's not so much a thing anymore. Like I said, I got embraced, stayed with the clan and with the mob for a while, but that's well, that opportunity kind of drained away by now.
She nods at that. I understand. I'm sure that that's an interesting position to be in, to say the least. Now, how do you feel about your clan and your place inside of it? I'm sure as a Kaitif, it's a little unique.
Well, here's the thing. So, yes, technically, biologically, is that what you call it? Supernaturally? Whatever.
Close enough.
Point is, yes, I'm Kaitif by blood, but I never really saw it that way. Because you see, a lot of Kaitif I know they get rejected by whatever the clan because they don't show the traits, but not the Nosferatu, at least not where I was from. My sire saw it as an opportunity, so I've been with the Nosferatu clan since the beginning. I've been with them, I've worked with them, I've been down in their burrows, they've been in my house. We've always worked together. I'm I basically consider myself part of the Nosferatu, and they basically consider me one.
Oh, that's lovely to hear. I've heard so many horror stories about Kaitifs being thrown out just without any training, without any care whatsoever, so I'm glad that someone's looked after you.
Yeah, no kidding. At least I'm useful, as long as I got that. You know, since I don't have a face that'll make an old woman have a heart attack.
I do want to ask how you feel about your place inside the Camarilla. Do you feel like there's room for growth? Do you feel like there's things you could do more or better for us? Anything in particular stand out to you?
Oh well, I worked quite with the Camarilla back then. You gotta understand, Camarilla over in New York, they control most of the organized crime, so they had a lot of that stuff going on, and I did a lot of stints there. But of course, now I'm here, and I think I could do a lot. I'm the kind of guy. Well, I'm willing to get things done, and I got the ability to get things done. And I think that's something that can be put to good use with a good position here.
Oh, well, that does lead very well into our next question. What do you feel are some of your greatest strengths as a kindred?
As a kindred, well, a couple things. I got a lot of experience, but if we're talking about the more vampiric side, well, I'm a Kaitif, as you know that. Some people wouldn't consider that a strength, but I do. Simply put, I ain't got no weaknesses. I ain't got the super big strengths that's the clans do, but you know, I ain't gonna get blinded by a light, and I ain't gonna get enamored by a picture, and I ain't gonna be picky about what blood I eat. Not only that, but it's real easy for me to pick up disciplines. Hell, most vampires only do 3, I manage 4.
Wow, that's quite impressive. On the flip side, I know no one really likes to answer this question, but how do you feel about your weaknesses? What would you identify them as, and how would you plan to overcome them?
Well, frankly, I'm not the type to say that I'm just too hard of a worker, so I'll lay it on you straight. Simple things is I'm good. When it comes to blending in, getting to know people and seeing things, I'm great. That's what I always worked for. Not exactly a spy master, but a scout, if you will. The guy in the street corner that lets the boss man know what's going on, any time of the week. People say I got a friendly face. Nobody says I got an enchanting voice, and yet people tend to listen to me. I find it pretty easy to get into things. And most of all, I'm in good with the street rats, the Nosferatu. They know me, I know them, and they know everything on the. But if we're talking about weaknesses, I've had. Well, I've had some issues, let's say, with the past. Some indiscretions, you might call it. I'm, I've known to get angry, have a bit of a temper with these things, and that's led to some unsavory characters that got my name in their bad book and on a bullet or two. I'm not sure I can say with 100% confidence that there isn't somebody after me right now, but, well, I can take care of my business.
She nods. That's quite a good attitude to have, I find. But this does lead me to say, uh, I do know what you did back in New York. You do understand I've got your name for that, correct?
Uh, yeah, of course, Prince. I can assure you nothing like that ever happened again. Believe me, I've
She
learned.
flashes she flashes you a very sharp grin. Good to hear. But moving on. What strengths do you have that aren't related to your powers as a kindred? You seem to rely on those quite a bit, but what else can you do?
Well, I have put a lot of investment in this whole supernatural jazz, but I got a few tricks up my sleeve. Was a mobster before that, after all. I'm pretty good at fighting, both up close, punchy like, and with a gun. I've had to do a lot of things. So when it comes to fighting kind or kindred, I'm pretty good at that. As well, I believe I've said a bit on this earlier, but I'm perceptive. It's what's got me this far. Knowing what's around me. Figuring out what's the word on the street. Figuring out what's going on. That's kind of my deal. And I got a few contacts here and there. Not exactly a social butterfly, ain't no Toreador after all, but I know good people. Good old Freddy up by the docks. And I know Becca Daniels down here, I'm sure you know.
She looks actually very surprised at that. Becky Daniels, wow, that must be wow. She seems genuinely like starstruck at that. I would love an audience with her sometime. Someone who fought in a battle like that. Oh my goodness. She like literally takes a moment to calm down. She has a glass of blood on the table and she takes like a quick gulp of it. My apologies. I don't know what came over me, but please.
She's temperamental, but I'm sure I could figure out something.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate
As
that.
well, I'm more than willing to provide. I got some money stowed away, and I'm more than willing to provide for the team for whatever we need to do. I mean, I got my man Chad, who he's the guy that hooks me up with firepower when I need it. Bam, bam, you know. And
Oh, excellent.
lastly, I got. Ah man, I had to leave him in the car, but he's pawing at the window right now. Got my old buddy Bruce. He's a little pit bull, and he's about 25 about by now, but well, that doesn't really stop him considering he's a ghoul.
She seems delighted at that. Like, oh, I've heard so much about kindred who have decided to ghoul their pets. I find that to be a delightful way to keep one's companion throughout the years.
Oh, absolutely. He's a good boy, you know, as long as I don't tell him not to be.
I'm glad to hear he's well trained. Moving on, I want to know why should I pick you, Danny? What's something that only you can bring to the table, as opposed to other kindred?
Well, here's a few things. I could offer A, I got a unique blend of being able to go around, blend into crowds, and get stuff done while still having a huge connect to the Nosferatu underground, something you can't get easily. B, I could go on about how, as a Kaitif, I have a variety of abilities, I'm versatile, you won't have to worry about that. But I think if I had to say my biggest trait, here's the simple truth. I got some basic morals. Everybody does. You have to as a kindred, otherwise the beast just comes and takes you. I know that. But the fact is I made peace with what I am a long time ago. Prince, if you want me to do something, I'll do it. Unless it's heinous as shit, I'll do it. And I don't care what it is. And unless you've secretly a Sabbat, I don't think you're gonna be asked. I don't think there's anything you could ask of me that I wouldn't do for you.
She seems very pleased with that answer, and, like gives you a satisfied nod. That's excellent to hear, Danny. I'm happy to hear that you're already on our side. That's one thing we cannot afford is any backstabbers or any traitors of any kind. But I do have one final question. Is there anything else I should know about you? And her tone grows almost icy cold at that.
Yeah, he kind of swallows and seems to consider. Alright, look. It's better to tell you this now than later. I know I said that I can't be sure that someone ain't after me right now. I'm still not sure, to be fair, but I have a feeling it's more in the opposite direction of... It'd be a hard sell to say that someone isn't after me right now. You know how persistent hunters are.
She nods and writes some things down in the file in front of her. That's very good to know. That's a little bit of a liability, but I think you can definitely compensate for it. She stands up and walks over to your side of the desk and helps you up, offers a hand. Now, Danny, is there anything you would like to ask me before we're done here tonight? She's walking you towards the door slowly.
Yeah, Danny seems to consider. So, Prince, I don't mean to be impudent here, but back home, believe in quid pro quo. If you want a favor, you gotta give a favor. Because I told you. You got a job, I'll take that job. But I gotta know. It gets dirty out there. Are you gonna have my back?
She looks at you, like, dead in the eye. Danny, I put those who are loyal to me above all else, and as long as you have my back, I will more than happily have yours.
Yeah, Danny, he smiles, with his fang protruding a bit beneath his lip. Very predatory kind of smile. Great. In that case, I think that's all I need to know.
She shakes your hand. Well, it was lovely talking with you. I'm happy I could answer your question and that you could answer mine. If you do get the job, which I believe you're a strong candidate for it, we will give you the information either tomorrow night or the night after, and we expect you to be there first thing in the evening. Is that doable for you?
Perfect.
Sounds lovely. I hope you have a fantastic evening, Danny. And she escorts you out into the hallway before shutting the door to her office, leaving you to wander the hallways and to mosey on back home, back to Bruce. Okay, so first and foremost, when does Theodore show up for the interview? Is this like on time, early, a little late?
On time. He wants to make a good impression.
And what's he wearing?
He's wearing, pretty formal, good suit. It's nothing like super, super fancy, but it's interview clothes. It looks good, yeah.
I love that. Excellent.
He's well dressed.
Nice. You get there, punctual and knock on the prince's door after going through the guards, showing your ID, proving you're a kindred.
Mm-hmm. My kindred ID.
Your kindred ID, yes. Every kindred gets one after you graduate from kindred school. I don't.
Yeah.
You have to parallel park there too, and it's a nightmare.
Oh yeah, God, that. We don't need to talk about how long that took.
But you are taken aback a little bit when Prince Tabitha opens the door. She's dressed to the tens, decked out in diamonds and silk, and with her hair all up and fancy. She's jaw-dropping, honestly. And she gives you a very warm smile. Oh, hello, you must be Theodore, correct?
Yes. Great to meet your acquaintance, Prince, Tabitha?
Yes.
Tabitha.
She welcomes you into the office. It's very well decorated, as you would expect. Very elegant as well, with Rococo-style desk and chairs and bookshelves and a freaking chandelier from the ceiling. It's not lit with like flames, obviously, but it's the little LED candles. Get it Party City 4 for 99 cents.
Yeah, nice.
She sits down on her side of the desk, motioning for you to sit down on yours.
Mm-hmm.
She pulls out a file with your name on it, Theodore, and opens it up, writes a couple things down, and then looks up at you. Well, Theodore, thank you so much for your time today. First and foremost, is Theodore fine? Do you have another name you would like me to call you?
Theodore's fine. You can call me Theo if you want.
Okay, well,
Whatever.
thank you very much. First and foremost, getting right into this, please tell me about your embrace and how it shaped you as a kindred.
Oh, yeah. The process itself, kind of boring. You know, you gotta go through steps as a Tremere. But like, honestly, kindredness fucking great. You know? You don't need to worry about cooking or like breathing. That's great. Love that. As a kindred, you know. Like as a Tremere, it's okay. I'm just nervous.
She nods and jots something down. It's completely all right to be nervous. I know not a lot of people get audiences with the prince. It can be a little intimidating. Just breathe, take your time. You're doing great.
Breathing.
She gives you a little chuckle at that. Sorry, it's a force of habit from when I was alive.
No, yeah, I get it.
So if you don't mind, tell me more. How were you embraced? Did you know it was coming, or was it a surprise to you?
It wasn't exactly like it wasn't like a forced thing, but it wasn't it was more of a surprise, I guess, than I would have liked it to be. I was kind of more recruited into it, you know? Like I was brought in because like I was great with like computers and like all that, and that's not, you know, Kindred. Got a lot of folk who are with that, you know. So I was just brought in for like my knowledge. You know, Jermir, you know, they want the best.
She nods at that. Yes, I am quite familiar. Um, Moving on. It does sound like you're adjusting to the unlife pretty well. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's pretty nice. Uh, Never really liked the sunlight all that much anyway, so it's
Well,
pretty
good to
great.
know. Good. I'm so glad that you're adjusting. Uh, what did you do before your embrace? As a job, or were you a student? What have you?
Yeah, I was a student. I was in programming.
She jots a few things down, looks back up at you. And would you say that's changed since your embrace, or have you been staying mostly as a programmer these days?
Yeah, that is my job now. You know, I've graduated since. Maybe some not so legal stuff using my knowledges, you know, in the information gathering front, but you do what you gotta do.
Oh, of course, of course. I completely understand. And it's not like we're looking for wanted. She waffles back and forth a little bit. It is to say that you're fine. You don't need to worry about doing anything illegal here. As long as you follow the masquerade, you'll be more
Oh,
than welcome.
yeah. No. My clan would have my head if I didn't do that. And so would everyone else probably, so
She nods at that. Oh, yes, you're not completely wrong there, but speaking of your clan, how do you feel about being part of Clan Tremere?
it's got its perks. It's fun here. You know. You know, love the thaumaturgy. I've been learning path of technomancy, which is uh it's cool to learn along my expertise, I would say.
Oh yes, I believe that. Being a programmer and learning the technomancy, she does air quotes. She doesn't quite get whatever it is. That sounds very interesting. Now tell me, how do you feel about the Camarilla? I know that can be a bit of a loaded question for some, but
I have no beef with them.
she gives you like a very sharp smile at that. Good to hear. Moving on, the obligatory what are some of your strengths question. I'd like this to be specifically about you as a kindred more so. Where do you excel?
I do have for whatever reason, I am an early riser for Kindred. It's always easier for me to stay up later and get up earlier than everyone else. Also got the typical disciplines of a Tremere, you know, Auspex and Dominate, Thaumaturgy, of course. I would say that would be my focus. Uh, why be a Tremere if you're not going to take advantage of its perks? You know.
Oh, of course. Now, on the flip side, what would you say are some of your weaknesses? Besides the usual sunlight, stake to the heart, all that jazz.
Yes, I understand that you're looking for hardworking kindred to work alongside you. I will admit I'm not uh the most combat heavy. I would say, I guess I can handle a gun, but we'll say it's not. I'm a computer guy. I will do what I can and what I need to in the moment, but not the best person to throw me out there, I guess. Also, I've got these thick frames, and he points at like his glasses.
Well, that's not too bad. I feel like but depending on whoever else might happen to be a part of this, I'm sure that they won't mind teaching you a little bit more about fighting. That's something you do have to learn as a kindred at some point, unfortunately. She writes some stuff down in the file.
Yeah, I'm willing to learn, and I'm willing to to get better at it. But if there's anything I'm lacking on, I suppose.
Well, good to know. Moving on, what strengths do you have that aren't related to your powers as a kindred? I'm talking about anything you carried over from being mortal, any uh, special skills or abilities you have.
Well, I have a lot of good resources on me. If you you know, get what I mean, and don't know how many gra- graduated kindred you have, but if you want, I also have. I'm also. I also got degree to to hear words.
You're good. I imagine if Theodore had the chance, he would have applied to this job like BDG's I Have a Job Now video,
Yeah,
where it's
uh,
just like a video he threw together.
that's option one. Option two. Option two would also have just been like through essay. He's just not capable of actual good conversation. He is very much an awkward person because I am very much an awkward person.
Hey, you're doing your best.
This is why he has thoughts and manipulation more so than the other social stats.
Fair and valid. But Prince Tabitha kind of nods along with you. She seems like really interested in what you have to say. She goes, okay, well, You're doing a great job at this. I Another question. Uh, you are a Tremere, and unfortunately, with a lot of other kindred, they don't really trust your clan right away.
Mm.
Unfortunately, do you think that this could cause any problems down the road?
Well, if you're bringing in Tremere, it's always gonna have issues. Bringing in different clans, there's always gonna be some sort of clash there. But I prefer keeping my head down. I don't like, you know, bringing too much trouble for no reason, you know? If there's any ruckus gonna happen, I will, well, I I would have thought through it.
I see. Uh, Moving on, one thing I do want to ask. Why do you think I should pick you over some other kindred? What is something that only Theodore can bring to this?
I'd say I'm one of the few kindred that knows technomancy and like just technology in general. Not saying that there aren't any kindred that knows this, but generally the folks I meet uh a little behind on it, you know?
Oh, of course. Well, that's good to know, Theodore. Thank you so much. Before we leave, I do just want to ask. She turns like her full attention on you. Is there anything else that you think I should know about? And her voice gets kind of cold at that, and her gaze turns kind of steely.
Uh I'm left-handed?
At that, she breaks into like a genuine smile. Ah, well, that's always good to know. Another southpaw, as they call it. And she leans out with her left hand to shake yours.
Okay.
Uh, she stands up and comes over to your side of the desk, helping you up and just slowly walking you out. Well, thank you so much for coming in, Theodore. I really appreciate it. Now, before you leave, is there anything else you would like, or anything you would like to ask me?
Uh is there anything I can know about just, you've been interviewing other kindred before me, I'm sure. Is there anything I should know about them?
She pauses for a moment, kind of thinking, well, in all honesty, that they're all a good, loyal kindred who will honor you and the Camarilla and be hard workers, very diligent, very. She's kind of giving you non-committal,
Yeah,
like,
just
oh, they're all going to be very
vague
good
synonyms.
employees. Yeah, but I do think that genuinely you will work well with most, if not all of them. There may be a couple newbies I'm looking at that might get the job, so you might have to be patient with them. I know having to take a new kindred under your wing can get a little tiresome, but I trust you'll be as patient with them as I am with you. That was a sentence and a half to say. Jeez.
Hey, you got there.
It's not about the journey, it's about the destination, or whatever.
That thing.
But she thanks you again for your time and escorts you out, gently closing the door, waving to you as she does so.
Hell yeah.
I imagine, is there anything you'd like to do before you head home for the evening, or are you just kind of gonna go home, probably binge some Netflix?
What would he do for fun? Or just
Does Theodore have fun? Is his idea of fun reading, like hitting random on Wikipedia and just reading the article?
You kind of hit it on the nail there. That is exactly what he would do.
You go home, forget Netflix, man. Forget Hulu, all those shows, The Good Place or whatever. Who cares? Real shit. Read about it on Wikipedia. That's how no, I really this isn't I don't know, I don't you can keep this in, whoever's editing this, I don't care. But just like I love the idea of Theodore's cultural osmosis just being anything from Wikipedia, where it's just like, oh yes,
Oh,
that
yeah.
show. It has a 9.6 rating on IMDb. Oh, how do you know that, Theodore? Wikipedia, I don't
Wikipedia. Just Wikipedia.
Some important world building.